Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the JY podcast. Today, we're going to be reviewing Loki, which just ended today, July 14th. Um, we have mostly positive feelings on this show. I think most people agree, like on the internet, Twitter, whatever, that it's a good show. When we thoroughly agree with that as well. Um, so we're mostly going to be saying positive things. We do have some negatives that we're going to talk about, but for the most part, it was solid.
Yes, this show is the first of the Marvel shows that have actually stayed consistently good. Um, I think it did a good job of the mystery aspect, keeping you like speculating each week on what's happening. And I think it's just a lot better than what WandaVision was kind of like. It's kind of similar in the way of the whole mystery thing, but it had a generic finale for WandaVision. This one it didn't really. It wasn't some like cliche villain fight. And I think it did a great job of setting up the multiverse of madness.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Like when watching the show, you do kind of get a WandaVision kind of vibe with like the mystery aspect, which is a very big part of this show. But the thing that separates this from WandaVision, one is that like the comedy is there. Like that's just one big thing that sets it apart. But also that the in WandaVision, the mystery kind of like fizzles out near the end, like a few episodes from the end you kind of get most of everything. You're kind of like you don't feel as confused. This show, you will be constantly confused. You'll never really know what's happening, but it's in the best way possible. Like you're always wondering why something happened, which not every show or movie can get you to think about. Which is probably my favorite part about the show.
Yeah, like the mystery and suspense feel kind of fits the character of Loki, where you're kind of just like confused what's gonna happen next. It's kind of just unpredictable. I think the show also just did a great job of with Loki as a character. Like all the variants I thought were great to see. My favorite one was classic Loki, and he's only there for one episode. And I just think for a Loki show, yeah, it does really well with the character of Loki. Tom Hiddleston was also great as Loki, as usual, but he kind of shined with his acting in this movie more, or this show more, with like, you got to see him use his emotion more, with like sad scenes.
Yeah, and like in the main MCU, Loki didn't really get as much attention as he should have had. So to give him his whole show like this really demonstrates how good of a character Loki is and how good of an actor Tom Hiddleston is. And I think in terms of actors, this show is filled with like very competent actors. You got Vanessa Kirby as Sylvie. You have Owen Wilson as Mobius, which I'm disappointed to say he doesn't say wow a single time, but that's neither here nor there. And there's a bunch of other actors that I don't really know who they are, but they did a good job. Like Judge Renslayer, she had a very like she played the part of a brainwashed like pawn very well. You kind of felt that there was no saving her. So yeah, that's part that I really appreciated about the show.
Yeah, also, I think this guy's supposed to be Kang. I think they did a good job with the casting of his character, because if they got some charismatic kind of like goofy guy, and they had like a terrible actor, it would have really just came off as cringe. And I think with the actor they chose, it works well. And I just enjoyed seeing him in the finale a lot, and I'm hoping we get to see him in the future for Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, and that's kind of on the topic of the finale. And like we mentioned previously about WandaVision, like after that finale kind of flopped for everybody, there was a lot of pressure on this shows to have a good finale. And while personally it felt different from the rest of the show, it was kind of in a good way because the whole thing they had a lot to explain is the best way I can put it. And so there was a lot of talking and a lot of explanation, but it was a lot of stuff that you want to know, so you feel satisfied coming out of it. But the best part about it was the very end with the cliffhanger, in which you realize now there's a million more questions you have, and you'll have to wait till the next season to get those answered, which leaves a good feeling of anticipation because you now, even after the show is done, you're wanting more. So I think that was very well done.
Yeah, I was also kind of worried that the finale was going to be kind of rushed or like another scenario of WandaVision where it just wasn't satisfying, but it really did work, and I was surprised how well done it was. And I just know that it just showed like these writers know what they're doing. The show is consistently great. Each episode was amazing. Episode 3 is like the only one that was, kind of weak, but yeah, it's just a great show. I mean, there's some issues with it, like we mentioned. I think for one, this relationship with Loki and Sylvie is just a little bit weird. It's like two variants dating each other.
Yeah, I guess we can talk about our negatives right now. There's not many, and the ones that we do have aren't they don't ruin the show at all. But some problems I had with it was that like the Loki they grab for this show. Hold on, right? Yeah, Loki they grab for the show was right after the Battle of New York, as we saw in Avengers Endgame. But he kind of acts like the Loki in like Ragnarok and other movies after that. Because in the first Avengers movie, he was very like sadistic, like pretty comically evil. And in this show, he's rather goofy. He's like playful and like sly, which I mean, it's better that way. Like I would obviously prefer that Loki to the one that we saw in the first Avengers, but it did feel a bit like they almost rushed through his character development in one specific scene so that he can get that way.
Yeah, and apparently it was like confirmed by Kevin Feige that he was like mind controlled by Thanos in Avengers, which kind of explains why he was like on a killing spree in that movie. Because Thor one, he was more calm, but this show really didn't acknowledge that at all, which I thought was kind of weird because to the general audience, they're gonna just assume now that all the actions of Loki in Avengers was all just him, like he wasn't being controlled behind. So I wish they did that. It also kind of explains his personality change in this movie or this show because he was only really doing the killing because he was controlled, but here in this show he's not really being controlled. And yeah, I just kind of wish they acknowledged that.
Yeah, and yeah, those are pretty good points about the confirmation or whatever. They did have a scene where Mobius shows Loki all the killing he did, and Loki just kind of says like whatever. He says like that wasn't that bad or whatever. But that's okay. My biggest complaint, because the Loki one, that's whatever. That like obviously they had to make him a more likable character, but one that didn't make sense was that Sylvie's whole character arc in the show was that she had been running her whole life. She had never had any interaction with people, so she was very like hesitant to trust anybody. And so throughout the show, she like more and more trusts other people like Mobius and Loki, and you can see her start to warm up to like having friends. And then all of that is thrown away at the very end of the show when she very suddenly stops trusting Loki, like gets back to her revenge fueled bloodlust and starts like attacking wildly at Kang. It felt kind of forced and sudden, and like it kind of went against everything that had been like we'd been working towards with Sylvie. So that's something that I did find like a little weird.
Yeah, I also just kind of felt like she came off as a little bit stupid there because I mean, like really you're gonna take that chance of the whole multiverse like messing up. Just for like revenge. I thought she's at least smarter than that. And yeah, like you said, it kind of does mess up her development in a way because she kind of gets to trust more people later on, only for that to all be thrown away for this.
Yeah. Um I think that's about all the points I wanted to make. Overall, great show. If I had to give it a number, probably 9. Easily the best show Marvel has put out yet, and probably will be the best show they're gonna put out in a little bit, unless like the new shows they put out blow me away or something.
Yeah, I'd probably give it 9 too. I mean, Loki is one of my favorite characters in this MCU, and I feel like this show did him justice. And yeah, I'm excited because the season 2 has been confirmed. And yeah, like I said, it's probably going to be one of their best shows. I'm not really excited for the next show, What If, but yeah.
So that's going to be it for today. In the comments, we really like hearing from other people. So tell us if you agree with us, if it's the greatest show you've ever seen. Tell us if you disagree, it was garbage and Alligator Loki didn't have enough screen time. and leave a like if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you want to, and that's gonna be it. See ya.